My name is Teresa Lockwood. I reside in Vineland, New Jersey. I'm just addressing police. I've actually just spoke to an officer who, um, uh, gave me some information. No personal conversation. I made a personal, and descriptive statements or whatever. Just appreciated his informing me of certain things. Has been informed before, not in the same way. So I don't know. Look, this is the thing. Most of the police in the Vineland Police Department are corrupt. I just want to make this video concerning Officer Perez, and he basically has tried to assure a situation that he's of been genuinely kind to me. Well, I asked him, or whatever. I said, genuine, you've been genuinely kind. It's like, I told him, I don't know. Look, this is the thing. Because there's this thing where the Vineland police have played this manipulative behavior. And if there's an awareness that they're being investigated, police who have mistreated me, wrote false reports and sent us reports against me and did things like this or whatever, will start being nice to me, acting buddy-buddy, okay? So I just want to say, excuse me, if there's officers that have not done anything corrupt, obstructed justice, committed crimes, or whatever, and their kindness is genuine. I just want to say I do appreciate it. You have to excuse me if I can't believe it and it's always questionable, especially if things seem really fishy. This is the pattern that I have dealt with several times with officers, where there has been suspicion by them or people questioning and thinking they're under an investigation. This is the thing, I'm going to say this. A lot of investigations are not genuine. Okay? The reality is they use it for an intimidation tactic, false fear tactics. I don't speak against fear tactics. Okay? I know they have to be used in law enforcement at certain times, in certain extreme situations or whatever, with negotiation. But there's sometimes where there's like a threat or whatever, and so I've been in that conversation before. I don't want to make this video about that, but because I'm speaking against people, we're speaking against fear tactics as a whole, in deception, by the way, and basically playing on things where people are actually speaking true things that are happening and bringing confusion to the mind of people, especially in like COVID-19 and different things throughout time, like even it's been yapped off about by Obama, using fear tactics when they weren't. They were legitimate claims, that that presented a harm or a threat to a nation or people or whatever the case may be. So they play on those words or whatever. Okay, so there's false fear tactics and there's fear tactics, and not all fear tactics are basically illegitimate, like claims or whatever. But if you bring awareness to a threat, they'll rant off, oh, fear tactics, and the Democrats have played on that. We've seen that throughout media. So, well, I've seen it. I don't know. I don't know anybody's basically expressed it how I've seen it or whatever. But anyway, and in conclusion, there are false fear tactics which they themselves use. Anyway, okay, I don't want to make this video about that. This is the thing. The Vineland police It is rightfully, I'm not sitting there just copying this. I've been saying this for years and years and years because I'm only speaking by what I've seen, okay, and the tactics being used, which are not police tactics, by the way. A lot of tactics in the Vineland Police Department are not lawful police tactics. So they're confusion tactics, manipulative tactics, etc. So, I don't know where to hold this. The lighting over here on this side is bad, but I'm going over here because I can't rest my arm. The thing is, in regards to police, I've had a number of times police sitting there acting buddy-buddy to me. Yes, I've been suspicious of it. No, not paranoia like suspicious. Questionable because of the behaviors that have been presented to me. For such as a group of cops basically told me to give them a shout out. Okay? So, this was a number of years ago or whatever, and they were acting buddy-buddy and whatever on these things. And I was basically reporting, I was continuously for years being abused, mistreated, and crimes committed against me, unlawful reports, and, my life is very complicated. Yes, and police trapped me in it, by the way, and then have a complaint about it, but I'm not allowed to make complaints, by the way, or I'll get abused. So, the thing is that I've found that a lot of investigations has been used for control more than they were actually desiring police to actually do right. And just because these officers that were presenting these things under the former Chief Cottisbody and things like that, would promote corrupt officers. He was corrupt himself, played these games, exploited people, lied to the people, did all these things. And, and then I report things and people get all like fearful or whatever. The reality is, and I just dealt with it not too long ago, where I had this superficial act out play of internal affairs. Oh, you reported me! Which was really, really weird. How he demonstrated that or whatever. It's like, why wouldn't I if you're sitting there committing crimes against me? He made it all personal. And it was very, very peculiar how he responded. But I'm like, and he's like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble. He knew he wasn't, and I knew he wasn't. So it was like all a little display or whatever. So the thing is that, he was lying, manipulating me, and playing this nice tone, and acting and pretending like they're unbiased. And a lot of them do that, okay, officers, to sit there and demonstrate this display of something other than what they are practicing, okay? So, the thing is that I have this, false kindness of an officer who threatened to shoot me, Officer McKeon. And he actually asked me to basically send him a friend request. I'm like, I don't do that. I said, I don't send friend requests. And I said, I accept everybody. I was just like, there's all kinds of people on my page. I said, there's atheists, there's all kinds of churchian denominations, Muslims, pagan, Wiccan, whatever you want to call it, name it, or whatever. I said, none of them are my friends. I said, most of them are actually my enemies who cyberbully me online. They're allowed to be on there as long as they don't abuse me. So, they can disagree, whatever. I was like, so you and anybody else is welcome as long as you're not abusing me. So, I was just like, I'm not flattered by you. I know what you're doing. You're sitting there manipulating the situation or whatever. I didn't go, it's going to be give or take of words. I'm just, okay, so anyway, he was basically falsely pretending. He even sat there and said, oh yeah, you're my buddy. While he was manipulating me, he'd already threatened to shoot me. Alright, through my window, and basically made up lies or whatever, because I had to call the police for a domestic violence situation. Okay? So, the thing is, yes, it's a risk I take if sitting there is one threat or another. If I have to in desperation or whatever to basically stop whatever is going on in my situation. And I know it's going to happen. I'm going to be slandered. I'm going to be mentally abused or whatever. My life put in danger or whatever the case may be, threatened, whatever. This is what I have to deal with. So the thing is officers only mostly has pretended to be nice to me, manipulative, and even nice in tone to distract and ask questions to distract. I'm sorry. From me making a report or interrupting and acting friendly. They're very, very deceptive, okay? They have no respect for anybody's rights, okay? So, the thing is just like, who is been genuinely kind, lawfully, respecting my rights or whatever. Most of them make slanderous reports, so I'm just saying, if there's officers out there who basically desire what is just, true, and right, and have been kind, I'm going to say thank you and I appreciate it. But I really don't know who you are, and I'm sorry about that. You blame, I know I'm not to blame, and if you're genuine, you're not to blame. That's the deception and what I am dealing with concerning corrupt officers and them deceiving me. The thing is, they don't really fire people or demote people based on obstruction and corruption. And if they do, they use them. They're only going to target one or two out of it to sit there and make them appear that they are not corrupt and they're, people of dignity or whatever, and honest people like Chief Cottaspotty did with Gammy, which I exposed before. Believe he was manipulated, but exposed it because, he got in trouble for apparently lying in false warrants or whatever, but it has to be approved and by the chief. Okay? There is a process that it has to go through. He did not do it by himself. So, rather he was deceived, manipulated for this false warrant or whatever the whole play was behind it. I do not know. I do not know the officer personally. I just know the deception that played out and what happened. And there was a lot of missing information that didn't make any sense. I filled in the pieces. Yes, not even being there. Seeing that, okay, I know for a fact that an officer can't just go out and get a warrant and then go take on a case all by himself. And it doesn't happen. So they just sit there and displayed and used him, manipulated him, use him as a scapegoat to sit there and make the judge and Chief Cottaspotty to look honest and pretend that they're sitting there speaking against lying while they were both corrupt. Okay? So, there's a lot of deception that plays out, that appears itself to make them to appear kind, nice, or whatever. I basically desire that police should desire to seek out what is just to be true and hold that as a noble importance of mine, utmost value, to be just in all things that they do. So the thing is that Perez, he said I did a video of him that was nice or whatever or kind. I don't recall, and I'm sorry about that situation. I do remember him being on my property once. I don't recall of him doing anything bad. It does not mean he did not. He said he treated me what appeared to be kind or whatever, but he was copying words of another officer who was did corrupted justice, refused my rights, Officer Jason Scalzi, and copying the patterns of a word, which is over a word. The last conversation and the previous one over because I used the word fraudulent, and he basically wound up saying, yeah, well, that's all over, in our law code books or whatever. And I'm saying fraudulent, and I was like questioning it. And last conversation was like, no, I think it was a bigger word or something like that. It's like, compared to fraud, we use fraud, the word fraud in discussion, exchange and discussion. And the thing is, I was like upset. I was making my complaints. I don't even know if those complaints were made. But he played like all buddy buddy. I don't need to be anybody's buddy. You know what the thing is? I love it when people are lawfully just, like that's my buddy. Law is my buddy, not people. And that's how I think. It is a very just way of thinking. I like that. Law, knowledge, truth is my best friend. I've been teaching that for years and get people centered or whatever, because people become very biased and siding with people and all these things or whatever, and there's not a center focus, and that's actually refused from a lot of Vineland police officers. So that if you follow what is right, just and true, and lawful, which a lot of police are refused to do that. You know, some just don't care. A lot of them do not care. They're pathological liars. They obstruct justice. They don't even know or understand the things of justice. So, and I basically reinforce that in my speech or whatever throughout the years to officers. So this is a thing. If I can't concretely 100% sit there and, recall on, I can't remember. I counted like around, I've been terrorized by 50 officers deceiving me, lying to me, doing all these things and displaying this false kindness. And I'm very familiar with it. I grew up in church, so they were evil. So you keep doing it, and they do it on their own. And then it's basically a self-gain when they display this false kindness or whatever. So, some people will sit there and, I can't, just because people say things wrong doesn't mean they're, being deceptive. But there's like, large discrepancies. Now, there's like contradictions in speech. I have contradictions in my speech and stuff like that, or everybody does, especially when you speak more or whatever, and there's so many words that have different meanings and yada yada yada. Okay. Anyway, so the thing is that I just want to say, I'm going to end this, make this short, but I just want to say to the officers, if there's anyone who is actually really genuine, and nobody's, I don't want anybody to be personal with me. That doesn't mean I don't exchange personal information. I do. I'll sit there and talk about things, in my life and relate it to situations going on. That's what I often do in my speech, to make comparisons and experiences or whatever. But, people may be off too, it's about the intentions or whatever. But there are a lot of officers who have a false kindness for selfish gain, and because there's an investigation. I'm very familiar with it. Okay, so the thing is, even the innocent person may be sitting there and wanting like this reassurance, or if I make a complaint, and there might be an indication that, oh well, they're actually investigating or pretending to. The thing is, they'll display an investigation is going to be fake. It's always been fake. It's always been fake. There's never been a real investigation when I basically spoke against the heinous crimes and terrorism committed against me and retaliation by the Vineland, New Jersey Police Department. And they put on display, and then basically they destroy me. The investigation's fake. They do not sit there, demote somebody, whatever, for bad behavior, promote somebody for good behavior. That is not how the Vineland Police Department functions. Because there was a change, and they started to do that, okay, started to believe in the power of justice, okay, but, the thing is that, they only going to do that if they want to exploit somebody, use somebody for their own propaganda. There's a lot of police officers exploited. Some of the people deserve it. So, some people are oppressed. I know there's oppressed officers refuse to do rights. I know there's indication of officers who basically are hoping that I say something or whatever. But the thing is, people aren't going to listen. They're not listening to me. Alright? And I'm being psychologically tortured more than any of these officers or whatever, and throughout the years of psychological torture, Okay, and so the thing is, those who are generally have good intentions and want to, people think they're bad intentions or good intentions, but people who are genuinely want to be true and just and right, and they do right, you know, uh, and they present me with kindness without deceit. I just want to say, I'm going to question it, and I appreciate it. I want to appreciate it when I'm being deceived. It's like I encountered something that was kind or whatever, but it's just deception sometimes, and it's really terrible. But that's what I deal with, and so I'm going to, in a way, I want to appreciate what is good, and it's hard to find. So you have to excuse me if I question you. Do not be like offended if I'm questioning things, or whatever, because officers have used kindness in a false way to deceive, and because they wanted to cover up complaints or whatever, and try to set me up, stage a thing, like McKeon trying to sit there manipulate me. And I said, I'm not flattered by you. I said, I know what you're doing, trying to get me to basically friend him on his Facebook or whatever. So I didn't, of course, and he said he was going to send me a friend request. I knew he wasn't going to. Subscribe on my channel. I knew he wasn't going to. But we got into a big fight in the Vineland Police Department. But they were trying to manipulate and deceive me. And the thing is I'm not buying it. Like, I want to sit there and listen to you if, but I haven't experienced people being genuine. This is why I sit there and tell people, it's like, just encounter me lawfully. You don't have to act buddy-buddy with me. My friend is like justice. I just want information exchange, and basically a lawful exchange. I don't have to be, my friend is, I'm not going to have personal friends. I'm not looking for a friend. You people aren't looking for a friend. You're not looking to be my friend. The thing is like, I understand people who are a friend of justice and what is right, just, and true. And we're going to understand each other. This is why we are not understanding each other. Okay? And so I'm going to end that with that. And I'm just saying, I don't know people are genuine, but, oh yeah, the Perez statement and pattern after Jason Scalzi, because there was a thing that was basically saying fraudulent Pentecostals, and he's just like, that's in our book, and it was like an echo pattern of Jason Scalzi, it's biblical or something like that or whatever, which was unbiblical, and basically perverted every scripture, and basically used cult abuse inside the Vineland, New Jersey Police Department. So there's a lot of these indicators of people echoing abuses of many people, even echoing my words, and strangely how I was with other people that was not encountering with them, because, well, they're a terrorist group that basically destroyed my family, so my encounter with them is going to be much different. And they do a lot of cryptic deception, and I don't like it. I don't like to be communicated like that with, and so their cult churches do it. Raymond Church, William Clay, Franco Polita, or whatever. And so I'm going to end with that, but I'm going to do another video. I'm just going to end with that.